headaches, exhaustion, a humming in her ear. That's what diplomat Catherine Werner started feeling when she got sick while working in China.
What she didn't know was her symptoms were almost identical to a victim of a health attack in Cuba. 60 Minutes' Scott Pelley spoke to Werner about her medical mystery.
I woke up in the middle of the night and I could feel this sound in my head. It was intense pressure on both of my temples. At the same time, I heard this low humming sound, and it was oscillating. And I remember looking around for where this sound was coming from because it was painful.
When did you first notice that you weren't feeling well?
October of 2017, I started to get hives all over my body, really bad hives. I woke up with headaches every day. I started to feel tired. The simplest things would just make me very, very tired.
Were these symptoms growing worse over time?
They were, yes. My symptoms would get so bad that I would throw up. We hadn't heard about what happened in Cuba. I mean, there were headlines in the news about hearing loss and attacks to our diplomats, but we didn't know the details.
You were in harm's way and you didn't know it.
Exactly. I didn't know it, and I'm afraid that others may be in harm's way and may not know it. You know, I don't know what the future looks like for me, but I would do anything in my power to prevent this from happening to somebody else serving their country. I remember looking around.
Werner also said her dogs were even throwing up blood. Her mother experienced similar symptoms when she was visiting China.
So joining us now for more is a CBS News correspondent, Steve Dorsey. He's been covering the story since the very, very beginning. So, Steve, let us dig in. Just remind everybody, though, what happened both in Cuba and in China and where the investigation is at this point.
Yeah, well, let's start with Cuba. Back in late 2016, Americans stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Havana began experiencing many of these similar sensations and phenomena that Catherine Werner had been experiencing in China. Ultimately, as of last May, 26 Americans working in this diplomatic community based there have been confirmed to have been attacked, according to the State Department. With what? We still don't know. But since then, the U.S. Embassy there, as you see, has been nearly shut down, just a skeleton staff. Meanwhile, over in China, in Guangzhou, where Catherine Werner was based, she began to experience these similar symptoms, including these ringing in her ear phenomena, throwing up, dizziness, trouble concentrating, and she suffered a brain injury. She's the one confirmed case that the State Department has acknowledged in China.
So the University of Miami released their report about the injuries sustained back in December. Let's take a listen to what they said, and we'll talk about it.
It's not affected by time, which can change people's disease presentations. It's not affected by variable amounts of treatment. Like if you get a little treatment or get a little medicine, that may change what you look like.
So does that give us any insight into how this may have happened, Steve?
Well, it does lead us to believe that these symptoms that these folks are experiencing aren't in their imagination. There's several studies confirming that they have, in fact, been injured. It's not just feelings of nausea or hearing strange sensations. It's actual changes to their brains. Specifically, as you noted right there from Dr. Hoffer at the University of Miami, it's changes to the liquid inside their brain, inside their ear canal that could have undergone changes from some kind of directed energy source. These scientists are calling it that could have had long-term impacts on their health.
The director of North American Affairs at the Cuban Foreign Ministry says the U.S. is actually not cooperating in this investigation. Is the State Department cooperating?
Well, the State Department says it's been cooperating with investigators in Cuba, that they've notified them of these concerns that these diplomats have had since at least 2016, 2017. They've tried to alert authorities there to work with them to get to the bottom of this. But Cuba says they've stopped short of providing names of victims, medical histories, and Cuba and their authorities on the islands say that, in fact, nothing happened, and then this is a way for the U.S. to politicize its relationship with that government, to find ways to restrict trade, migration, and ties with the Cuban people.
All right, Steve, I know you've been reporting on this story since it first broke. Thank you very much for sharing some of the details with us.